Hello everyone. Today we are going to study chapter 18, the book of John. Let's all dive into the passage. Chapter 18 verse 1. Jesus arrested. When he had finished praying, Jesus left with his disciples and crossed the Kidron Valley. On the other side there was a garden, and he and his disciples went into it. Now Judas, who betrayed him, knew the place because Jesus had often met there with his disciples. So Judas came to the guard, guiding a detachment of soldiers and some officials from the chief priests and the Pharisees. They were carrying torches, lanterns, and weapons. The time came. Jesus must be arrested and sentenced to death and tortured and died on the cross, hung on the cross and died on the cross. Jesus came to the world to die. He's God himself. We saw last week, last chapter, Jesus said, chapter 17, verse 5, he said like this, "And now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began." What does it mean? It means that Jesus existed before the world began. And Jesus said it was the glory. The glory. So, the glory. This glory is amazing because Jesus was there when God created the heavens and the earth. The glory. What a glorious. But glorious. And Jesus was there. And Jesus prayed. Chapter 17, verse 5. Jesus prayed to God, the Father God who is in heaven. Asked him to glorify me in your presence. Jesus knew the time when Jesus was about to leave, about to depart from the world, was the time of glorious, time of glory. So, so we can see the time of glory came to Jesus, and we can see. And in this episode, we can understand that Judah was played. Judah was one of key character that made it happen. 4. Jesus knowing all that was going to happen to him, when I asked them, "Who is it you want?" Verse 5, we can understand. Jesus knew everything. Jesus knew all that was going to happen to him. Jesus knew all that was going to happen to him. How could Jesus know all things? How could Jesus know all that was going to happen to him? Because Jesus was in a flesh as God himself. Jesus knew everything in a flesh. 5. Jesus of Nazareth. They replied. They came to seize Jesus because the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, the chief priests wanted to get rid of Jesus from the community of Israel because they were threatened by the presence of Jesus. So they wanted to remove Jesus from their presence. 5. Jesus of I am he, Jesus said, and Judas the traitor was standing there with them. When Jesus said, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. The passage states that Jesus dearly they recognized the deity of Jesus. So they couldn't dare come to Jesus right away when Jesus opened his identity. 6. When Jesus said, I am he, they drew back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, who is it you want? Who is it you want? Who is it you want? Jesus of Nazareth, they said. Jesus answered, I told you that I am he. If you are looking for me, then let this man go. This happened so that the words he had spoken would be fulfilled. I have not lost one of those you gave me. Jesus tried to protect his disciples according to what he said. I have not lost one of those you gave me. Jesus didn't allow them to arrest any one of his disciples. 10. Then Simon Peter, who had a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. So Peter, we vividly the passage describes what happened at the very moment. Jesus commanded Peter, put your sword away. Shall I not drink the cup the Father has given me? Jesus knew where he was going to and why he must go to this way. Because it was already prophesied, already decided between God and Jesus, God and him. So before he was born, he carried this mission and now it was time to carry out the mission to the end. Then the detachment of soldiers with its commander and the Jewish officials arrested Jesus. They bound him and brought him first to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jewish leaders that it would be good if one man died for the people. So the leaders in the community decided to get rid of Jesus. It seems that they decided, but Jesus already came to the world to have this path to die on the cross. Peter's first denial. 15. Simon Peter and another disciple were following Jesus because these disciples were known to the high priest. He went with Jesus into the high priest's courtyard. So we can see what was happening to Peter. So the Bible spotlights on Peter's. This time, Bible spotlights focus on Peter. Today's Bible spotlight is on Peter, and we can see. For Peter, 16. Peter had to wait outside at the door. The other disciple, who was known to the high priest, came back, spoke to the servant girl on duty there, and brought Peter in. You aren't one of this man's disciples too, are you? She asked Peter. He replied, I am not. It was cold, and the servants and officials stood around a fire they had made to keep warm. Peter also was standing with them, warming himself. High priest questions Jesus. 19. So we can see how the interrogation was going on. So 19. Meanwhile, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. I have spoken openly to the world, Jesus replied. I always taught in synagogues or at the temple where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret. Jesus revealed when he was asked how he had served his public messianic work. He openly spoke. He openly spoke. He openly addressed. He openly told the truth to the crowd who came to him. So nothing was hidden. That was actually true. That's why we can understand what Jesus taught at the time. Why question me? Ask those who heard me. Surely they know what I said. When Jesus said this, one of the officials nearby slapped him in the face. Is this the way you answer the high priest? He demanded. If I said nothing wrong, Jesus replied, testify as to what is wrong. If I spoke the truth, why did you strike me? Anna sent him bound to Caiaphas, the high priest. Wow, this is amazing. Jesus, God himself, living in a flesh, embraced all the humiliation, accepted all the humiliation, accepted all the path. Why? To give the true love to all people who are following him. True love, because of true love, Jesus embraced all the humiliation. Then Anna sent him bound to Caiaphas the high priest, Peter second and third deniers. 25. Chapter 18, 25. Meanwhile, Simon Peter was still standing there warming himself. So they asked him, "You aren't one of his disciples too, are you?" He denied it, saying, "I am not." One of the high priest's servants, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, challenged him. "Didn't I see you with him in the garden?" Again Peter denied it, and at that moment a rooster began to crow. Jesus before Pilate. Jesus was sent to Pilate because at the time Pilate, as the representative of Roman Empire, had all authority over Israel people. So Israel was a colony of Roman Empire. So at the time, Jewish council, the leaders group of Jewish, had no authority to sentence to penalty. So Jesus had to be sent to Pilate to have a legal sentence. 28. Then the Jewish leader took Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man? If you are not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourself and judge him by your own law. But we have no right to execute anyone." We have no right to execute to anyone, they objected. 32. It took place to fulfill what Jesus had said about the kind of death he was going to die. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked. "Or did others talk to you about me?" "Am I a Jew?" Pilate replied. "Your own people and chief priests handed you over to me." "What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jewish leaders. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king, then," and said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You said that I am a king. In fact, the reason I was born and came into the world is to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of the truth, listen to me." "What is the truth?" retorted Pilate. With this, he went out again to the Jews gathered there and said, I find no basis for a charge against him. I find no basis for a charge against him. It is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of the Passover. Do you want me to release the king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "No, not him. Give us Barabbas." Now Barabbas had taken part in an upright. This second part we read together. Jesus before Pilate. Clearly, it states that Jesus spoke. Jesus addressed. Jesus taught in public. So everyone had heard of what Jesus taught. So nothing was hidden. Jesus didn't conspire. Jesus didn't conspire. Jesus had never conspired. Jesus never had conspired. Jesus taught everything in public. So here Pilate clearly announced he couldn't find any base to punish Jesus. However, Jesus came to the world to die. So finally we could see 40. They shouted back, "No, not him. Not him." And then they wanted, I find no basis for a charge against him, but it is your custom for me. It was so they, to the end, Pilate wanted to release Jesus from this situation, from the sin, from their accusations. However, they couldn't do that. He was a politician, which was afraid of the government authority of Roman Empire. So he finally released the leaders of Jewish people to kill Jesus. Thank you for listening to Isaac Bible class. Have a nice day.